How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. So today we want to discuss Everson Pereira and Oswald Peraza, how these two prospects have been playing since they've been promoted. Now, we know a little bit about Peraza since we've seen him at the MLB level before, but he's been a little inconsistent since being called up. Again, they're really small sample sizes, but we really just want to break down that small sample size and say, okay, like this is what we expected, this is what we think they need to work on, and hopefully, they'll get there by the end of the season. We have about a month left of the regular season for the Yankees since we're basically out of playoff contention, and we're trying to get some of these younger guys opportunities. And we talked about Austin Wells being called up, the prospect of him being called up, what that would mean for him, and what that would mean for the Yankees catcher position. They even said they may even put him at first base, which is interesting, which kind of indicates that Rizzo may not be coming back this year. But then you have other guys like Jason Dominguez, who's tearing up AAA. Is there a good cause to call him up and give him an opportunity at the MLB level? Because if the Yankees are thinking about having him compete for a starting outfield job in 2024 during spring training, you could make a strong argument that getting him a little bit of action now could go a long way toward getting him ready for that, and him preparing for the reality of MLB pitching is a lot different, and what he may need to work on. His contact, his plate discipline has been phenomenal as of late, and he is killing it. I think he has 6-7 hits in his last 3 games or something like that, 4 games. He's on fire. He's crushing AAA. It looks like he didn't even need to go there at all. But again, like maybe he settles down a little bit, simmers down, and goes through a little bit of a tough stretch, and the Yankees are like, all right, we need to give him some more time. So right now, things are looking good for the prospects, but let's talk about Everson Pereira and Oswald Peraza. Ryan, what are your thoughts so far? We'll start on Everson Pereira since he has, implications for 2024 in the outfield. We'll talk about Peraza after, but this is his first chance at getting some MLB live at-bats.
Yeah, so, I think the big thing for me is that, Everson Pereira is having to learn the hard way that, Major League sliders are just different, right? He's gotten more sliders than any other pitch he's seen thus far. He's struggled with them. He has not handled them well, but that's part of the learning curve, right? Like, part of playing Everson Pereira and seeing what he is seeing him struggle and seeing him go up there and look, like he's he's overwhelmed, or he's being overmatched or whatever it may be. Now he's still hitting the ball really hard, and that's super encouraging because that's something that you knew Everson Pereira was good at, and you're instantly seeing that happen at the major league level. And I don't mean hitting the ball hard as in like it's a 30% or 40% hard hit rate. We're talking 64.8%, right? Like he's really hammering the ball consistently. Now it's a matter of getting better barrel accuracies. Bat speed is great. It's really, really good. He's obviously a really good athlete. He's got good wheels. He's looked solid in the outfield. It's a matter of, hey, can you get the swing decisions down, or can we get the bat to the ball a little more consistently? Those are things you have to work on as you get more major league reps, but at the same time, you have to struggle to get that, right? Like we've just gone through this process with the 22-year-old Anthony Volpe, right? We've seen him go through really bad struggles. I mean, from the months of April through June, it looked like he wasn't a major leaguer, right? It did not look like he belonged on a major league field. And that's 2 months right there from a guy who was considered, a top 10 prospect, right? Like a better prospect than Pereira was coming out of, coming into the major league level. But, we've seen Volpe as of late since he changed his batting stance. He has a 120 WRC plus. I'm going to use Clark Schmidt as another example here. Horrible in the month of April. Like we were 4 starts in, and we knew again that like some guys have, slow starts, some guys have hot starts, but it was so bad that you had to question 4 starts in whether he could keep making starts, right? Like you had to question it. It was that bad. And ever since that point, I think his ERA is like 3.98 or something like that. So, that's including that Brave start. This is his first year really starting. He's done a good job. So, you need to give these guys major league reps, and that's the way they're going to get better. Now, Everson Pereira, all the tools are there for him. Again, the raw power, the bat speed, which are really the 2 most important things when we're talking about projecting how good a player can be in terms of their ceiling. Again, great athlete, but now it's a matter of getting the technical things a little more down. And we've seen him, like, he got to AAA. He just exploded, right? Like, he went out there, and really for like the last 2 months, he's been killing the baseball consistently. He was kind of due to cool down at some point, right? Maybe that coincided with the promotion, whatever it may be. Aaron Judge, he struck out like 44% of the time in his rookie year. I'm not saying Everson Pereira is going to be Aaron Judge, but I think I've religiously said on here, Everson Pereira is going to come up and strike out a lot. Everson Pereira is going to come up and he's going to have a lot of struggles, and that's part of the process here. So overall, encouraged by the batted ball data, expected these type of struggles, and you kind of hope that they just progressively get better. They don't have to have pretty end of the season numbers, but they just have to be, there just has to be some semblance of progress.
I mean, look, we know the Yankees, and look, if you're listening to this right now, my friends, we know one thing about the Yankees, and they don't give a rat's ass about strikeouts. They will sacrifice 1,000 strikeouts for 15 homers. Like, that's just the way the Yankees operate. That's their strategy. So we expected this, Ryan, like you said, you anticipated Everson Pereira getting to the MLB level and striking out a freaking shit ton, and he's doing just that. He's striking out a freaking shit ton. But now, what you want to see from Everson Pereira, and he has an interesting swing. It's kind of like a stab. But when he makes contact, it's hard contact, and usually it's pretty solid. So the thing that I've noticed about him is that he hits a lot. He's pulling a lot of ground balls to the shortstop position. That's kind of where I've been seeing him. Like, there was one game where he had 3 ground balls right to shortstop, and, a couple fielder's choices, but otherwise that, you don't want to do that. That's pretty much an automatic out for most plays. But what I want to see is him get that bat elevation up a little bit. Just get the launch angle up a little bit, get those line drives into the outfield, maybe start to hit a couple homers here and there. But if you could just get that launch angle up, you're going to see him start to drive. And that first hit he had the other day against the Rays, or was it Washington, whatever his first hit was an absolute laser beam to left field, right down the line, right over the head of the third baseman. That's what Everson Pereira did in Double A and Triple A. He had some really underrated power, but he hit line drives to the outfield, a lot of doubles, a lot of singles, and I think that's kind of where you're going to see him. If he can convert those hard-hitted ground balls that are pulling to the left side into line drives into the outfield, you're going to see a lot more base hits from Everson Pereira. Now, what I think that he needs to work on is, like you said, he's going to strike out a lot, but a little bit better plate discipline, I think, would go a long way. And we're kind of seeing that over the past few days. So, Tampa Bay has really good pitching. Over the last 2 games, he's only struck out 1 time, over 7 plate appearances. So that's a slightly good sign to see that, okay, he's not striking out a lot. His max exit velocity in the first 2 games against Tampa Bay was 97.6 miles per hour and then 95. Against Washington, his max exit velocity of 2 of the 3 games, 103 and then 111.8. The guy hits the crap out of the baseball. Like, that's the one thing you're going to get with Everson Pereira. He hits the freaking laces off the thing. Now, that normally, if you can make good, efficient contact frequently, is going to result in a lot of base hits, and you're going to get some home runs out of that. And it makes it a lot harder for infielders to actually field those ground balls. Just like Stanton, like sometimes he'll hit those laser beams to third base or to shortstop, and it goes right under, right under C.J. Abrams' legs, because he was coming in so hot, he didn't even know what the bounce was going to do. So sometimes you get lucky with those, but I think that what Pereira is going to make his money is those slapped line drives to the outfield where he can pick up a single, pick up a double, and occasionally he can get enough elevation on it to get out of the park. So, where would you like to see him improve moving forward? I know Pereira has that kind of strikeout knack, but what areas, like, are you looking for more contact? Are you looking for better plate discipline, a little bit more, like maybe elevating the walk rate a little bit? Where do you think he can improve to, maximize the next couple weeks? He has about a month here in the regular season. Next year, we're hoping he can take a big step forward. What do you think he needs to work on over this kind of month sample size?
I think you made really good points talking about, elevated contact, right? Like, damaged contact is great. Like, when you hit the ball hard, obviously that means you've done something well. But getting it in the air means you get more out of it, right? Like, a ground ball, instantly you're kind of limiting the ceiling on what that batted ball can be. You put a ball in the air and you really get into one, yeah, it could end up being a double, but if it travels enough, that's a home run, right? And end of the day, when you generate, as you mentioned, enough damage contact, you're going to have a lot of high hit expectancy hits. That's why Everson Pereira hit for a really high average in the minor league at the minor league level, because he was going out there and he was absolutely destroying the baseball. And those are really hard baseballs to field, really hard to get to. You have to have really quick reaction times. Even if you do, it's a gamble, right? Like, you may not get to that ball even if you play it perfectly. I do think the swing decisions, you want that to get better because the bat speed is there, right? Like, we're seeing so far that he can hit the ball hard. Now, again, elevation, that's something you want him to work on, but swing decisions, right? Like, that's kind of the next step here. If he has bat to ball issues, which, like, a lot of really good players do, like, Shohei Ohtani does not have, great contact skills in the traditional sense. He goes up there, and if you see him swing, he swings max effort every time. It looks like he's trying to tear the cover off the baseball with every swing. And that guy leads the league in WRC plus and is trying to challenge Aaron Judge for his AL home run record. Aaron Judge last year, or Aaron Judge in general, Aaron Judge has ran above average strikeout rates every year of his career. And he is, the best hitter in baseball, right? Like, if you think Aaron Judge isn't a good hitter, Aaron Judge isn't a prolific offensive player because of his strikeouts, then you're not watching baseball. Maybe go watch a different sport. You can succeed in spite of strikeouts. That doesn't mean you want to strike out. And I think that's kind of where people have a misconception about hitting the ball hard and analytics and all that stuff. It's not good to strike out because you're striking out. You're making it out. Like, that's not good, right? But if you strike out a little bit more, but it results in, you're taking bigger hacks and you're driving the ball a little bit more and you're generating better quality of contact, that sometimes is a pretty good trade-off for guys. That's the trade-off Pereira's chosen to make. Now it's just a matter of make the right swing decisions, right? And that doesn't just mean, don't swing at balls and swing at strikes. That also means swing at pitches that you can handle and frequently, right? So if you're comfortable swinging at a pitch on the inside part of the plate, if you see a pitch on the inside part of the plate, swing at that pitch as much as possible because you're going to do a lot of damage there. Swing decisions are a lot more intricate than just ball, don't swing, strike, swing, because certain guys can't hit certain strikes well, right? Like we've seen, Aaron Judge had a problem with down and away pitches for a while. He made the adjustment, obviously, but he would not swing at those pitches. And even now, he doesn't swing at those pitches frequently for good reason, because those are hard pitches for a taller guy to get to. He'll swing at pitches inside. He'll swing at pitches up because that's his wheelhouse, right? And so making those good swing decisions and making the right swing decisions, that's important. So for Everson Pereira going forward, making the right swings, making the right calls on swings, pitch recognition, all that stuff, on top of, as you mentioned, elevated contact, he gets a little bit better. If he gets to like league average in both of those things, his raw power is good enough that he'll be a 115 to 120 WRC plus bat, if not even better.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. And, the highest probability of any batted ball is going to be an out, right? The highest probability is going to be an out. A triple is the lowest probability. You have a home run, low probability. Doubles, still low probability. Singles are the highest probability hit. So the fact of the matter is, if you can increase the quality of contact, the power you're putting behind it, you can increase how often you hit home runs and extra base hits. And that's kind of the thing here. Like, you're always going to want a hit. Like, let's say this. A single may not result in a run, but a double will likely result in a run if there's no outs. So, like, if you're trying to, like, if you can boost that little percentage just a little bit, it makes a big difference over the course of a full season of a lot of plate appearances. So I think they are playing a numbers game here. I know for a lot of you guys, it's like, whatever, I don't care about the numbers game. But this is it's a chess. Like, every single manager, every single general manager, the analytics departments, they are playing chess, and every piece of the batting order is a chess piece. Unfortunately, we had a group of freaking pawns this year and didn't have anything that resembled any queens or rooks or anything of any substantial value, aside from Judge, who didn't play a lot, obviously. We had a lot of pawns, and other teams they just had outmuscled us. They had better pieces on the board, and the analytics sometimes can't make up for bad players and players that don't produce enough. And like, that's ultimately the reality of the situation. So that's the best kind of analogy I could give. It's really just a big chess game at this point in time, with the analytics so infused in the game itself. But, looking at Oswald Peraza, this one I'm interested about. They've really treated Peraza in a weird way. Called him up, sent him down, called him up, sent him down. Oh, Josh Donaldson needs 100 at-bats, but Oswald Peraza only needs 20. Like, don't get that mentality or logic at all. But right now, Peraza is struggling a bit. He's scored 25 games this year. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's such a small sample size, hitting 153, 291 OBP with a 44 WRC plus. Now, he hasn't been very good the last couple days, but he's also been in the MLB for like 5 games. Like, when you're sending a guy from AAA to and then between the two, like, you're just constantly seeing a different level of play, and it's like you're trying to adjust, but they're not giving you the time to adjust. They need to keep playing him every day. I don't care if he sucks the rest of the way. The Yankees are out of the playoffs. You need to gather as much data as possible about these players to see what they're made of. Now, Peraza, we know he's a tremendous defensive player. He could win a Gold Glove at third base in the future or whatever he ends up. But offensively, he's still trying to develop his identity. Is it going to be as a contact hitter? Can he hit for a little bit of power? I don't think we're ever going to see Pereira hit for power in a way that he's hitting 20 plus homers a year. I think you're lucky if you get 12 or 13 homers a year out of Oswald Peraza. That's my personal opinion. I think where we will see a lot of value out of him is he walks a good amount. He's been walking 10.5%. Across 43 MLB games. That's a good number. If he could even increase that a little bit, I think that would go a long way. His strikeout rate's at 23.1%. If he could lower that to around 20% with a 11 to 12% walk rate, you can make up for a lot of power-related issues just by getting on base. Like, that goes a long way in the MLB, in my opinion. At least if you're a bottom half of the order guy, getting on base is good, because if you're bottom half of the order, that top of the order is going to come around, and those guys will bat you in. Like, that's kind of the theory I would go with. But if you are a guy also struggling to hit for contact, that's when you get a little bit more trouble. But I think that his identity is going to be more of a get on base with patience, slap the ball, put it in play, move runners. I don't think he's going to be a really big power guy ever, in my personal opinion, Ryan. I want to hear what your thoughts are about Oswald Peraza's future.
He's a very weird player, right? Because like the player he was at the minor league level and the player he has tried to be at the major league level are just, they're not the same player, right? Like he's more patient at the major league level. As you alluded to, he doesn't try to hit for as much power at the major league level as he does at the minor league level. And this year it makes sense because in AAA the ball's flying, so you can kind of just poke one out to left field and pull a fly ball and get it out, whereas that won't get out at the major league level because the balls aren't as juiced. So completely understand that. But, they're tweaking his batting stance. They kind of removed that leg kick, a little more of a toe tap situation. We'll see if that yields good results. I'm not for or against it because I don't know what the data or the reasoning is behind it. Again, sometimes it's just preference, right? Like sometimes you just notice something. You're like, hey, your timing's a little bit weird. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to figure something out for that. And they think that that leg kick might be the issue. We'll see. So far the results haven't been great on it. But again, like he changed that stance. He changed into that stance, I believe, the second he got to the major league level this stint, which is his fourth stint. Last year was first. He had 2 stints before this. He's out of minor league options next year. So weirdly enough, unlike Pereira, where you can kind of wait a little bit, you can make, you have not just this year, but you can kind of see what happens next year with it. If he really struggles, then you might send him down, but you have a good runway for him there. Peraza, you kind of have to know now, because if you don't know now, you're going to have to keep him on your major league roster next year. And if you want to get him off the major league roster, you have to DFA him. So I think the Yankees are going to have to reach a conclusion on what Oswald Peraza is now and going forward. So, I think you're right. They have to get him consistent at-bats. Like that report that Josh Donaldson, like they're trying to work him back into things. If Josh Donaldson plays a single game at third base, I'm going to be irate, right? Like I don't care if Peraza is good or bad. Like I don't. I have to know what he is, though. You need to get a definitive idea of what Oswald Peraza is. And understand, he's going to probably have 80 games in his major league ledger by the time the season ends in his career. Is that definitive? No. But he is 23. He's, next year he'll be 24 in June. So you're kind of getting into the stage of your career. We should start finding an identity offensively. So I wouldn't really fault them if he plays the rest of the month. They're like, we kind of want a bigger bat at the corner infield spot. We're going to move you and get someone else that we think that can help us a little bit more there. That's fine with me. Or if they conclude hey, the bat, it was encouraging towards the end. The defense is really good. The base running, we like everything there. As you mentioned, if he's a good on-base guy, or, he just does enough well offensively to keep himself in the lineup every day, maybe they'll decide to keep him around, and that would be awesome too. But they're going to have to make a decision. And LeMahieu's been playing a lot better lately. So that also kind of forces a weird conversation of, Rizzo is under contract for next year. That's what we know right now. Whether he gets traded or not, that's a completely different conversation. But for right now, we know that the 2024 Yankees will roster Anthony Rizzo because they are contractual. They have a contractual obligation to. So that puts a weird pressure on Peraza where it's hey, LeMahieu's playing better now. LeMahieu had a pretty good year in 2022. Now his WRC plus is over 100. He's a really good defensive third baseman. He has 3 defensive runs saved and 3 outs above average on a limited sample size there. And last year he was very good there as well. So Peraza's going to have someone to actually compete with. And, for the same reasons that you would say, all right, Peraza puts the ball in play, gets on base, he works walks, right? Doesn't have to go out there and hit for power, good defender. Those are all the things that LeMahieu is as well. Now, Peraza is more of a dynamic athlete in the sense that he's a better base runner, all that stuff. And that's what you're chasing right there. You want the Yankees to be a better base running team. You want them to be a faster team. You want them to be a younger team. But this is kind of more make or break it for Peraza than it is for Pereira. And, unfortunately, that's not, unfortunately, that situation also happened because they didn't play him enough this year. And so, they could end up selling on him early and maybe he goes out and becomes a quality major leaguer somewhere else. But overall, in his approach, he hit a ball, I think 109 miles an hour over the weekend against Tampa Bay. He's hit a ball 112 miles per hour in AAA. The raw power is there. So it's a matter of just figuring out what his approach is, finding something that sticks with him, finding that maybe it's the leg kick, maybe that was throwing him off at the major league level earlier, and this adjustment will help him. We'll have to see, but it's kind of more put up or shut up for Peraza now than it is for Pereira at this point.
Yep, I agree. I mean, look, next year, if the Yankees want to go out and spend a little bit of money on a guy like Jeimer Candelario, Peraza's a guy you can move for something. They've destroyed his value. He could have been worth something better last year when they were still oh, wow, he's coming off that really good stint in the MLB. We don't know. Instead, they just kind of trapped him. I think they made a bad decision there. I think that they should have leveraged his value then or played him a lot more. Of course, they didn't do either of those things. But I will say this. There is talent there. There's talent for inside Peraza's persona and character, and inside his qualities as a baseball player, there is a good player there. I don't know how they're going to get it out. I think the only way to get it out is to give him consistent at-bats. The rest of the way, and like you said, if Josh Donaldson steps foot on third base or plays any inning or any at-bat for the Yankees this season, someone deserves to be fired. I mean, someone probably deserves to be fired anyway, but that would solidify it. Like, Donaldson cannot step foot on this field again, guys. Like, I'm happy paying him $6 million to get the hell off the team next year. The mutual buyout option that was, converted, we're going to pay him to not play for us next year, and that is money well spent. So if he plays a single inning for the Yankees this year while they're trying to develop some of their youth, while they're trying to gather data points for some guys in the future, and they make the mistake of playing him because I can't even muster a logical explanation for that, it is going to be one of the more embarrassing things that we do. I mean, for God's sakes, we tried to get into a fight with the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, and Ian Hamilton says, I wish we played them for one more game. Why? So you can show them once again why you guys are in dead last place? Because I certainly don't know why the hell I'd want to play the Rays again and try to get into fights with them and try to, talk shit about them, because we have nothing to say. We should be shutting the hell up. We should be sitting there and taking that L to the face, because that's what we deserve. We don't play with any heart. We don't play with any passion. There's very few guys that actually look like they care. We are in last place for a reason. We do not deserve to be going out there and trying to fight other teams right now. The only reason that we would be doing that is because we're out of frustration, or they're frustrated at Albert Abreu clearing the benches and then going and fight. Like, it's just blows my mind. Like, I respect the passion, but I don't want to see the Rays again. I want to see the only reason I want to see the Rays again is because our young guys can get good at bats against good pitching. That's the only reason I want to see the Rays again. I don't care about beating the Rays right now. I care about developing our youth, and that's really where my head's at. Gathering data to figure out what the future looks like, because right now our present looks like hell. So guys, I'd love to hear perspectives below. Sorry for the little bit of a negative send-off, but we are excited about Everson, Pereira, and Oswald Peraza. Always happy to hear your perspectives in the YouTube comments. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.